Join us as we examine Governor DeSantis' legislative lineup, unpacking the eclectic mix of bills reshaping Florida's governance, from tax tweaks to educational overhauls. Let's go.
Governor Ron DeSantis has signed 14 new bills into law. This goes from taxation to education. Let's go into it. We have a list pulled up. We're just going to go through them. We're going to give some of our thoughts on them. Some of these are effective on July. Some of these are effective now. Starting with tax collections and sales, House Bill 113. David, tell us about it.
Okay, so House Bill 113 amends the state statuses regarding partial payments of current year taxes. Okay, the new law eliminates a $10 processing fee to the tax collector for partial payments. In addition, there is a new clause for situations involving delinquent tax bills on real estate. Tax collectors must provide additional information and reports to county commissions about situations where credit is given, including federal bankruptcies and properties in which taxes are below the minimum tax bill.
So eliminating a processing fee, fine, I guess, make it easier for people to just pay their taxes.
Yeah.
But putting more work on tax collectors is an interesting choice.
Oh, wow.
As how I'll put it. That's an interesting choice. We've gone over this in the past. Florida is a very understaffed state, and that's pretty much across the board in these types of agencies. How much more work this will encompass will have to be seen, but this could really bog down the workload that already goes too slow. Again, we'll have to see. Of course, we also eliminated a processing fee, so who knows how much they're even getting paid. They're not even getting a raise for this extra work. That kind of sucks.
Right.
I get why they want to do this. But I'm guessing there will be some administrative hiccups on it.
And when did DeSantis ever care about the county commissioners? So, so much for that. House Bill 151, Florida Retirement System. House Bill 151 amends the state statutes regarding the Florida retirement system. Starting later this year, retirees who have been terminated can be reemployed by any employer that is part of the state's retirement system. There you go. They can also receive retirement benefits and compensation from the employer, though these retirees may not receive both a salary from the employer and retirement benefits during the 6 months after they begin retirement.
So there was this big controversy when Nikki Haley and Ben Shapiro and a couple others basically said that our model of retirement isn't sustainable. And the age is going to be raised, or we're just not going to retire in the same way we used to. Mm-hmm. And there's another bill up here that supports this. This is kind of an early form of that, as I see it. It's basically saying you can unretire, more or less. You can unretire, get back in if need be, which makes sense. Give people options, give them flexibility.
We will also needs employees too.
Yeah, and we'll also see later on that they're encouraging a specific group of people to work after 65. It's not that big of a deal, but it is interesting to see how this will run. I think we're seeing a test run of this later retirement / no retirement model. I think we're seeing an early test. We'll see how it goes. Not enthusiastic because it's going to hit me. I kind of would like to retire someday.
Someday, young man, someday.
David, I'm not even going to own a house. I'm not even going to own a house, David, let alone retire. But that's all right.
Right.
That's a problem 45 years from now. Actually, more
You
like
get,
50 years from now. If we really,
wow.
that's I'll deal with that problem 50 years from now when I'm 70
Hopefully, I'll
goddamn
be
years old.
looking down on you from heaven at
You'll be
that
dead,
time.
David. You'll be dead. Relax.
But wait a second, isn't there a petition out there, to give me, at least demigod status?
Oh yeah, sorry. We're trying to get him established as a religion.
We'll see. Check us out. Look for that
We yeah
episode.
that's an episode previously. If I remember, I'll put it in the info cards. We're talking about religions and whatnot. All right, let's
All right.
go through. So
House Bill 353 amends the state statutes requiring the district courts of appeal in Florida, um, changing the status where it allows for a district court of appeal judge to work at a courthouse in an adjacent county from where they live, provided it's within the same district. Before, judges were required to live within the same county as the courthouse.
uh, because in Florida we have a lot of we have counties, but we also have our voting districts, and our voting districts, especially for judges, can lapse over multiple counties. So I'm amazed this actually wasn't the law sooner. It's like it's still in their district, like they still serve that district. So big deal. I'm glad we got around to it
Common
finally.
sense prevails.
I'm glad we did it. You did it, Florida. You get a gold star. Now this one interests me. This is House Bill 537, the STEM music program for middle schools. House Bill 357 establishes a pilot program for M Scales, music-based supplemental content for to accelerated learner engagement and success. That is a long acronym.
Wow.
So the program is aimed at providing musically based supplemental materials to support science and math classes for middle school students. Right now, there's only going to be 3 school districts that will apply because it's a pilot program that they may or may not take into the further. So I was like, this interests me. I'm a music guy. I think that arts, crafts, music, whatever, is a vehicle for success for students. I know it teaches them valuable life lessons about how you manage your time, how you improve yourself, as well as just getting people more involved socially, and it can really help people do better in school. So I'm like, I'm going to read this bill in full. I want to see what it is. The bill was like 3 seconds long. It doesn't. I think I left that bill with more questions than I had answers. They don't go into details at all, really, about what this qualifies for, other than it's not really as much a music thing as it is some kind of math and science thing. I don't know what this is. Interestingly, though, enough, they delegated evaluation to the University of Florida. Interestingly enough, I guess they didn't want to have. I guess they didn't want to pay someone else to evaluate. I get it. Got to keep taxes low for sake of bragging about it. But I'm interested to see what this will come out as. I think the most recent like big addition to the schools was the mental health week thing, which very mixed. A lot of it kind of gets in the way of teaching a little bit, and a lot of students feel like they're getting talked down to in it. They were feeling a lot of it was very patronizing. I should know. I gone through some of that. And it was a lot of it was common sense to the point of being shallow. Because they didn't differentiate between elementary and high schoolers very much. There was some overlapping content there, so it was really dumbed down. I'm interested to see if students will accept this, especially if it's like music-based supplemental for math. What does that look like? Math songs? I'm curious to see what this is. Yeah, we'll just have to see though, because we don't know what it is.
Right. And one of the positive things is that there are tax dollars attached to this. So
Yeah.
the participating school districts will receive $6 per student for eligible middle school students for this pilot program. So that's a positive. That's a big positive.
Big positive.
House Bill 623 creates a new law that requires builders to warrant newly constructed homes for 1 year after the home is either sold or occupied. So these warranties involve defects of equipment, material, or workmanship. that cause a home to violate the Florida's building code. So whatever violations there are, they are covered that are covered under the Florida's building code. So whatever these defects are, it must be under the Florida building code, and it has to be within 1 year of being sold or occupied.
Yeah, and furthermore, the developer has to have screwed up in some way.
Yeah.
You know, normal kinds of wear and tear, natural disasters, things that are out of their control, those aren't going to be covered because there needs to be enough for. We don't want to scare the developers off entirely. You know, they still need to be able to make houses, but yeah, I think overall that's a good thing though. You know, protecting consumers from failures by the developers. Maybe we could do more, maybe not, but hey, it's a positive step and I'll take it.
All right.
Nonetheless.
Excellent. So, House Bill 781, public private partnerships, also known as P3s. So, this bill involves P3s, which are contract agreements between local governments and private firms to help fund public infrastructure projects, like we need here in Orange County. So, typically, local government, who want to engage in a P3 with a private firm via a unsolicited proposal, have to publish notices both of the proposal itself and that the government is accepting bids. So this legislation allows local governments to go ahead and with unsolicited proposals for infrastructure projects without having to go through the whole public bidding process. To do so, the bill requires local leaders to hold meetings to hear from the public and determine whether the proposals fit the public's best interests. More meetings. In addition, local governments entering a P3 under this bill would no longer have to publish a notice in newspapers or mail copies to each local government in the affected area. This is expected to help local governments fund their infrastructure projects more easily with the help of outside businesses. Okay.
It's that one's probably going to be the biggest one, honestly. That one right there. That one's big.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think it's weird that you don't have to publish it anymore. I think more information is always good. I find that part of it a little strange.
Mhm.
But no, the rest of it, it's like as long as this doesn't turn into a, let's hand over the key, let's not build project for companies. You know, if it is still going to the public, then yeah, this can absolutely be a win. Especially because it can be good for companies too to engage in corporate social responsibility (CSR) practices. A lot of companies do them all the time, and this could be maybe this could be a good way to attract some of that into Florida infrastructure. But we'll have to see if this is successful or if anything really changes.
All right.
But that opens the door. That opens the door
Yeah, it
for
does.
sure to future successes, and I'm hoping it works out the way the Florida House wants it to.
Indeed. So House Bill 813 is in regards to certified public accountants, and this amends the state statutes for these public accountants. The bill allows CPAs who are at least 65 years old to apply to have their Florida CPA license retired as opposed to being placed as inactive. This allows retired licensees to reactivate their licenses based on standards set by the Florida Board of Accountancy, which requires fees and additional education, about 120 hours of professional education for every 2 years that the license is placed in retirement.
Hey, I told you we would come to this one.
All right.
Yeah, basically allowing CPAs to work past the age of 65.
Yep.
Allowing people to unretire. I guess Florida does need workers, and we'll see how people like this non-retirement model of living. It's not super enthusiastic about it, but who knows?
Yeah, it
We'll see.
creates, people who are bored in retirement to come back and
Yeah,
go back to
yeah,
work,
yeah. If they're capable of doing it, it's good that they can do it.
especially in this Florida economy.
Yeah, yeah. We all know this Florida economy. Rent costs the average person a kidney. Of course, the red flag will just be seeing whether or not it becomes expected for them to stay working. That's going to be the thing that we have to look out for. More options is good once again, as long as it isn't expected, because not everybody needs to be working that old. Some people can though.
Right. So, in the effort to bring more broadband internet access to areas in Florida that lack it, House Bill 1147 is hoping to resolve that. In 2021, Florida legislature established a promotional rate for broadband providers to use poles owned by municipal electric utilities to bring more access to underserved consumers. This promotion was initially set to end later this year, 2024. However, the bill extends the promotional rate to December 31, 2028.
It's so funny. Broadband internet, I feel like, should be the key uniting piece of legislation. But I remember when the Biden administration and company, I forget which office it was, sought to expand more expansion to some of the rural areas of the country. A bunch of Republicans were saying like they're gonna like take over the internet. Like they were attacking him for this, but then a lot of red states kind of do the same. Like this is a pretty common sense issue. No shit. If people need internet, they need internet. And fun fact, people need internet. Rural areas are especially known to get screwed over by the providers, usually paying 3 to 5 times the rate for shittier service. I'm glad that they're extending that promotional rate. It is very needed, especially in this Florida economy.
Amen. Yes, you're right about that. You're 100% correct
This is
about that.
this was probably the bill I was the happiest to see.
That would be House Bill 1555.
Oh, the one we just went over. But this one too, I like this one too.
Okay.
I also like this one.
Cyber Florida, House Bill 1555 amends the state statutes, changing the Florida Center for Cyber Security. Yeah, you guys say that real fast.
Florida Center for Cybersecurity.
Right. It's now known as Cyber Florida, which provides education and research to bolster the cybersecurity sector here in Florida.
Good.
The bill will redefine the center's mission to conduct, fund, and facilitate research and applied science that leads to the creation of new technologies and software packages that may have military and homeland defense purposes or for sale or use in the private sector. Hey, so we are going to be the Silicon Valley of the East.
All right, we're gonna try to, at least. Granted, this is usually something that the federal government invests a lot in. But speaking like more like constitutionally and division of powers, there's nothing actually stopping the state from doing this. I would want to look more at the budget of this, but I'm definitely intrigued. Cybersecurity is the threat of the future, and being prepared for that is probably a good thing.
Indeed, yes. Cybersecurity is a major issue that will be with us as long as there is Web 1, Web 2, Web 2, and Web 3, and Web 4, and beyond. Yeah, this is good. It's giving us some priority and a more broad mission. So, House Bill 7011 deals with special districts, which are units of local government created for a particular purpose. This particular bill, 7011, dissolves 4 special districts which were already declared inactive. They were Calhoun County Transportation Authority, Highland View Water and Sewer District, Dead Lakes Water Management District, and the West Orange Airport Authority. They're gone. They're done.
They were already inactive, but now they're dead and buried.
Yes.
They were merely vegetative before.
And you can take the Sunny Isle Reclamation and Water Control Board, gone too. All right.
Yeah, they were already inactive, so in all fairness, if you want to save, administrative clutter, it makes sense. A little shame that they didn't end up being anything good, or they didn't end up actualizing their missions. But if it's time for it to go, it's time for it to go. It's it's kind of it's a clear cut case if it is what it is.
Right. Yes. Yes. All right. Senate Bill 276 amends the state statutes for organizational structure in the executive branch. This means that these changes require executive agencies with an advisory body to upload a report each year by August 15th with the following information: whichever statute is responsible for advisory body, a brief description of the advisory body's purpose, a list of each member on the advisory body and who appointed them, any vacancies on the advisory body, a list of the advisory body's meeting dates and times, a brief summary of the advisory body's work plan over the next 2 years, the amount of funds appropriated to the advisory body, a recommendation about why the advisory body should be continued, terminated, or modified.
Part of me wonders if DeSantis has forgot to appoint people and just wants to know where the vacancies are. But I see the benefit of this. Like speaking, like it's like putting myself in the shoes of people working in the government. It might be easier, as an easier way to visualize, how our money's precisely being divided. Maybe we can find places where money's being wasted. Maybe places that it's underfunded. Finding places where we don't have any employees we have. Or maybe it will do very little at all. But I think if it helps them at Tallahassee do their jobs better, then don't let me stop them.
There you go. and this bill has a kill switch, and any laws that create an advisory body must now include a provision that repeals the body on October 2nd of the third year after enactment, unless the law is reviewed and saved from appeal by being passed through the legislature again. Wow. So any additional advisory body must have a kill switch by October 2nd of the third year.
Yeah.
And if it's going to be saved, it's going to be saved by the legislature.
Huge deal. That's a
Big deal.
Big deal. Again, I think via reports we'll know more about these advisory bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think by and large it's going to represent just more work for the government. Just making sure that it's like what's on the agenda today? Today we're renewing our advisory bodies because we said we had to. It's an interesting change. I'm not too certain about the rationale behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I would need to look more into that.
The next bill aims to make communications services more affordable for low-income households, giving subscribers discounts on certain types of services through the state version of the federal Lifeline program. This bill, Senate Bill 478, gives the Florida Public Service Commission the authority to designate mobile phone service providers as eligible carriers under the Lifeline program.
Again, you gotta love Florida, imitating the federal government. It's just kind of what we do at this point. But much like the cybersecurity one, there's nothing stopping the state from doing it. So, you're not going to see any federalists bitch about this.
Yeah.
And again, in this Florida economy, bills like that do make sense.
Yeah.
And that's not too much cost to the state, really. So, yeah, that can work.
Exactly. Now, the next bill is it's an interesting one.
Yeah,
close to my heart.
Yeah, I was a little surprised about this one, but not in a bad way.
Okay. So, Senate Bill 544 aims to reduce the number of child drownings in the state by expanding access to swim lessons. All right.
Yeah.
Because we know it's Florida. People have swimming pools, there's lakes and ponds and
oceans on both sides,
puddles. So this is smart. The bill creates a swimming lessons voucher program, which gives low-income families vouchers to enroll their children in swimming lessons at participating vendors. According to the bill's text, it applies to Florida families with children's ages 4 and under who have an income that can be up to 200% of the national poverty level. So this will take effect July 1st, and I think it's a great idea. I know that we do see a lot of um, children suffering from drownings when they visit the resorts
Yeah.
and hotels and they have pools, and they're not being watched appropriately. But at the same token, there are a lot of homes, residences that have swimming pools, and we get, you know, that issue with the private residences. So I think this is a good idea to kind of get this situation under control.
Yeah, I was like, I was really happy to see this bill. It's like, you know, we don't. I feel like there's been a. I feel like we've been drowning in everything else, pun intended, of the constant political strife, the constant divisive issues. Trying to invent new ways to
Mhm.
put issues into our schools. But I'm happy that we're investing in just the lives of people. Now we need a voucher program for kids 10 and up to fight alligators
There
next,
you go.
because only then can they be truly safe in Florida waters.
Yeah.
We need the alligator judo program.
There you go. Yeah. As I tell, anyone visiting Florida, and when they ask me about, you know, have you seen a gator, or
Yeah.
is there
Yes.
an alligator in that lake? I say, hey,
Maybe.
I I look at it this way. If there's any body of water, whether it's a puddle or if it's fell on the ground or whatever, expect a gator to be there.
Just play it. Just like be safe and assume there's a gator.
Yeah.
Because they can really blend in. Their camouflage really does work.
Yeah. They're good. All right. So, Senate Bill 958. This is regarding local government employees. Senate Bill 958 raises the base salary rates for tax collectors and district school superintendents by $5,000. Sign me up. The bill also allows tax collector employees to be eligible for monetary benefits if they adopt a child from the child welfare system. Ooh, yes. And child collectors may pay out a
Child
retention.
collectors.
Did I say child
Tax collectors. Tax collectors.
That's when you know it's been a long, long.
Oh my
day.
gosh. I've been David, it's almost 5 and I've been here since 9:30. Let me out.
And I've been here all day and all night and
Oh.
the day before, and oh well, that because
Well, you live here.
Yes.
I don't live here. Anyways, but the tax collectors, they may pay out a retention bonus to employees if approved by state or county officials. This also lets the school board contract with an Orange County tax collector to have road tests administered on school grounds for drivers licensing. So now you can get your driver's license at a school now, which is at least that's the way I read it. You can have road tests administered on school grounds for drivers licensing.
Okay.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
I'm not really
that's
sure.
kind of common. You would think it's common sense, but I
mean,
liability.
I actually got mine in a school. Interestingly enough, well, kind of. It was just off. It was a program with a school. It was a school of choice that you could just sign up and do that instead of a driver's test. You do a driver's test there. It was a lovely time because you got to drive the test once before you actually did it.
Oh,
so it was actually pissy. Granted, it was more rigorous, but since you got to do it first, no, there were no surprises.
Did you all have like simulators that you had to get into and practice driving?
No
simulators.
Oh no, we didn't do simulators. We had cars, David. We had cars, David. We're not there yet. That'll happen.
The simulators we had was nothing like what you're thinking. You would think it would be high tech.
No,
it was just a room.
It's like a box car.
It was a box. You walk into the box. And there's a screen, and it's like, it's not even like 3D. It's like 2D, like cartoonish, and you got a steering wheel. You're supposed to steer past all the obstacles, and I didn't give a fuck at the time. And just doing whatever I was doing. I didn't know that they were actually watching with cameras, and there were sensors determining whether I was following the rules of the
Like,
road and not hitting things.
man, this young David sucks. He's so bad. What
I
the
was
heck?
badass.
No, we
And
we
the
just
only thing I passed was parallel parking, believe it or not.
there's
But
no way.
I still got my permit at 16 though, and I consider myself a decent driver.
Yeah, no, I've 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 driven behind you. I gotta tell you, you were one of the only people I've driven behind who didn't like try to speed and then lose me. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I know. I don't do that anymore.
I I'll tell you, my mom could learn a thing or two. Whenever it's like,
Oh,
oh yeah, just follow me. Shoo!
oh
I'm
yeah,
like, come
yeah,
back,
yeah.
come back. Don't
Yeah.
run a yellow light, please.
I'm very conscious. I'm very protective. I was like, yeah, I
If you're
will.
watching, mom, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's not a big deal. Um, but no, like, but a raise for tax collectors and superintendents, by all means. I mean, I mentioned earlier. I forgot because I forgot this. I forgot this bill was here. Yeah, tax collectors did get a raise. Granted, given inflation, this was a little overdue.
Yeah,
Better late than never. We still do have a problem with colas below the natural rate of inflation here. Because the natural rate of inflation is not like 1% or 2% or something like that. The natural rate of inflation is 3 to 4%.
yeah,
So we still have an issue with there, especially with teachers. The next thing we need to do is raise the salary of teachers, and then we'll talk. But
exactly.
again, this is a step towards the right direction. More needs to be done, but and hey, look, an incentive for adoption. I don't know how much of a difference that'll make, but hey, I
Mm,
I dig it. I dig it. I guess.
it's an incentive, and there are kids who are looking to be adopted, and get them out of shelters, get them out of foster homes, out of group homes. I've been there. I've worked in the child welfare system, so I know how tough it
Yeah.
is to some extent.
And public employees. I'm guessing a very common. This I would need to actually do. I don't know if there's been substantial research on this, but from my understanding, a big reason that people don't want to adopt, it's either because they want to have biological children
Sure.
of their own,
Yeah.
or it's because they're worried that they can't actually financially provide them
Correct.
enough to like be worthwhile to pull them out of an orphanage. It's like a
Mhm.
thing like that. But making this a little easier might lower that barrier for some people that work in the local government sector. So that could be a step in the right direction. There have been a lot of steps in the right directions here. I was pleasantly surprised. We were just talking about the stupid pastors and schools things that went about as bad, which is going as bad as it could
You,
be
you've,
going.
you've got to watch
You
this
gotta watch.
Untainted
You gotta watch that
Temple.
episode, man.
Yes, yes.
Again, if I remember it, I'll put it up there.
All right.
But overall, I'm pretty happy with this. The music thing is raising my eyebrows a little bit because of how undetailed that law was.
Hmm.
But I've had no problem being critical of the Florida government on this show, but I'll give them their flowers here. This was a pretty decent set of bills.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, cream of the crop is all the controversial stuff that DeSantis will sign off on or veto. So watch this space for more analysis on what the governor decides to move forward and make into law, or he'll just let sit and do whatever.
Yeah. I'm still looking for a 15th bill that raises the salary of teachers. I'm just that's just if there's one if there's one thing that this state can do better. There's a lot of things, but if there's one thing it needs to do better, it's that. That's just
Amen.
my personal stance. If there's one thing that you can do, it's to hit that like button, subscribe,
Yes.
and share. What do you guys think of these laws? Was there something we missed? Should judges have to live in the same county even if their district extends outwards for some reason? If there is, we want to know what it is because we don't know what it is. If you have any insights that we don't have, more the merrier.
Mhm.
We'll heart your comments. I promise.
I'll try to.
We'll try to. We'll try to. Thank you very much for watching, though, if you made it to the end. This has been You Can't Make This Shit Up, and we are out.